Servant Leaders, Pastor Roger back with another Equip. You know, I've been thinking about these new self-driving cars that they are wanting to come up with and put on the road, you know, where you get in your car and you plug in your destination and you hit the button and the car just takes you to your destination. Now, I don't know about you, but there's something about that causes me to think I probably don't really want to be in one of those cars. I mean, I realize that the airline industry for decades has had autopilot on their planes, but then again, their pilots are super trained with what to do in the event of mechanical error or even human error and those kind of things. I can't imagine being on I-4 in Orlando in my car with the way the traffic is there, or even on any street here in Vero Beach in a car that self-drives itself. But you know, I see a lot of people in ministry that just kind of seem to go on autopilot. They approach their ministry with the idea of they know what they're doing and they just keep doing it the same way time after time after time. But you know what? That leaves very little room for God to be at work accomplishing the things that only He can do. And so here's what I want to tell you today. Don't go on autopilot. If you're leading the children, if you're leading the youth, if you're leading an impact group, whatever ministry you are doing, don't let yourself go on autopilot. Now, there's a lot of reasons that we go on autopilot. We get tired. We get frustrated with the lack of results sometimes that we're seeing. We will procrastinate on things. We'll even, let's face it, we'll even sometimes just flat out approach things with the idea of no need to prepare, I can just wing it. And boy, it's like going on autopilot. There's an accident waiting to happen there, but even more important than that, man, it just doesn't bring any feeding of your own soul. So I want to encourage you today not to, if you feel like, okay, well, I kind of maybe am doing that right now, turn off the autopilot. Engage again in the mission of the church, which is to make disciples who make disciples. There's a story that Jesus tells in Matthew 25. It's a story of these 10 maidens or bridesmaids. Some translations say it is the parable of the 10 virgins, but the picture is that these are the bridesmaids. They are waiting with the bride for the groom to come. And Jesus tells this parable about 10 of them, and 5 of them, they go and they prepare themselves and they put oil in their lamps, and then they take extra oil with them because the groom has said, you don't know when I will come. And that was actually the truth back in those days, that when a couple was betrothed, they were engaged, the groom would go off to prepare a place for the bride. And the bride and the bridesmaids would get together and they would wait upon the groom, and they would never know the day or the hour that the groom was going to come. So Jesus tells this parable about these 10 bridesmaids, 5 that get prepared, their lamps are filled, but then they get extra oil, and the other 5 that just fill up their lamps with oil. And so they're ready for a part of this, but they're not prepared. They're unwise in what they're doing. Well, to me, that's kind of like going on autopilot. You're working off your sufficiency with nothing extra. And according to what it says here, that the result of that is, beginning in verse 6, it says, then suddenly, did you hear that word? Suddenly in the middle of the night, they were awakened by the shout, get up, the bridegroom is here, come out and have an encounter with him. So all the maidens, all the girls got up and they trimmed their lamps, but the foolish ones, they were running out of oil. So they said to the 5 wise ones, share your oil with us because our lamps are going out. We can't, they replied. We don't have enough oil for all of us. you will have to go and buy some for yourselves. And the story goes on, and it says that as these 5 foolish bridesmaids, as these 5 foolish virgins went off to try to buy some oil for themselves, the bridegroom came and he took the people in with him to the banquet hall. And when they showed up, the door was shut. And now I'm not saying you're going to hell just because you're on autopilot, but I am saying this to you. You will miss what God has for you if you are operating the ministry that God has given you by being on autopilot. Enjoy what God has for you. If I can be praying for you, I want to hear from you. Please send me a message. How can I be praying for you? How can I be praying for your ministry? I want the ministries of our church to be on mission, making disciples who make disciples. Last week, we talked about growing, and why should we grow? Because our mission is to make disciples who make disciples. And that means that as we make disciples, and then those disciples make disciples, we're going to grow. And if we're stagnant and we're not growing, our group is not growing, our different ministries are not growing in number, we have to examine, are we on mission or not? And so I want us to focus on that. How can I be praying for you? I appreciate you so much. I love you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to pray for you. Most of all, I'm here to help you walk through life together. God bless you, and we'll talk to you next week about another subject.